Hello everybody, I'm Tony Craig, this is F1 Grandstand, and boy, we've got a lot of F1 news to get through today. So Ferrari, Diella, Hamilton goes to Barcelona without a race engineer. Now what's the impact going to be on him? Piastri talks Papaya and McLaren going into the 2026 season. Newey's private conversations leaked about his target and preferred driver for his Adrian Newey rocket ship for 26/27. Reaction to Audi's R26 livery. Niko Hulkenbergs' crazy clause contract as well, which another driver had a similar clause in his contract back in 2013, and it nearly bankrupted that Formula One team. And the Racing Bulls shakedown in Imola and what the fans are saying. So yes, lots to get into, and if you're an F1 fan, of course you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash a like on the video if you enjoy it, and make sure when you do subscribe to the channel, just behind that button, make sure the bell all option has a tick next to it. That way you are in control of which content that you engage with. Thank you so much for all of your continued support. Wow, it's been a busy day. I'm going to slow to the chat. Yvonne's in there, Gemma's in there, Semma's in there, Reeves is in there. Good to have you all with us. I'm just going to start a poll as well for later on in the show, because we are going to be discussing the Audi Revolut R26 livery a little bit later. Hey Jaman, nice to see you in there as well. So yeah, we've got, a lot to get into. Now let's start with the Lewis Hamilton story. Yeah, so Ferrari delay Diella. Now, is this another bad decision? Is this another bad decision by Ferrari? And have they just dealt Lewis Hamilton yet another challenge that could set him up to fail in 26? Now, before we get into the story coming out from F1 Oversteer and the Italian news outlet, let's remind ourselves of who is Luca Diella and why they
My
shouldn't
name
really
is
be
Luca, and I
him.
studied motorsport engineering with a placement year at Brunel, graduating in 2016. Currently, I work as a performance engineer at Mercedes-AMG High Performance Powertrains, supporting the Formula One team with their power units throughout the race weekends. I'm part of Lewis Hamilton's team around him, and I look after his engine and his car.
So, Luca Diella, basically, let me just fill you in if you haven't watched the earlier video where we announced that Luca Diella will be, it basically is in pole position to take over that race engineer role with Lewis and replace Adami. Well, Luca Diella was Lewis Hamilton's performance engineer from 2019 to 2024 at Mercedes, working alongside Pete Bonington, who was Lewis's race engineer. Moved to Ferrari in, I think it was April 25. February 25, alongside Jeremy D'Ambrosio, who is the deputy principal over at Ferrari, and he came over from Mercedes as well. And he's been operating as one of Lewis Hamilton's performance engineers. And the performance engineer are there at track days, at race weekends, supporting. His specialism is power units, engine data, how to improve that data in that engine performance in real time, analyzing the data. And most race engineers follow that route. They become a performance engineer, they sit just below the race engineer and get promoted to become that conduit to the driver. Now Lewis knows Luca Diella, and the issue is that Ferrari are now going to Barcelona without a race engineer in place for Lewis Hamilton. Now, some people might say, well, what does that matter? It's only a test. The thing is, we're going to get into it because we're going into a new regulation cycle where the relationship between race engineer and driver is now even more important because the driver now has control of the boost button, right? And the battery management. So the conversations between the race engineer and driver are going to become more frequent. They're going to need to have the information to manage that battery. They're not just going to do it all on their own in the cockpit. They're going to be relying on their race engineer. So we're going to a new regulation cycle where battery management is key. Well, they need to practice. They need to work out that feedback loop. They need to work out that vocabulary. And this is Ferrari's solution for Barcelona. So This is what they're saying. It's Correia della Sera reports that the Scuderia will not name Adami's replacement anytime soon. Instead, Ferrari are set to make Brian Bozzy pull double duty during the first pre-season test in Barcelona on January the 26th to the 30th. Now, Boz is Leclerc's race engineer. Hamilton likes Boz. You know, he's great at what he does. But if he's going to operate during this test as Hamilton's race engineer, he doesn't get any benefit, right, of building that relationship with his 26 race engineer. So it is a big kind of hindrance for Hamilton. But what Ferrari have said is they believe it could serve Hamilton well having Boz as his race engineer in Barcelona, because Barcelona is really just a lengthy shakedown of the SF26. But here's the problem, and I've already talked about it. They talk about it as well. The driver-engineer relationship will be even more important with F1's 2026 regulations, as drivers will need extra help managing their energy, managing that battery. So there's going to be more conversations, more reliance on your race engineer, who's always been your co-pilot. At the end of the day, it's your wingman. It's the closest person to you. They're in your ear. They're experiencing the race with you. And I think that for Hamilton, this is a bad move. I think it's a problem. Because they don't have a lot of time to test these cars. You've got Barcelona 26th to the 30th, then you've got Bahrain twice, and then you're in the season. That's not a lot of time to build a brotherhood with your race engineer, and that's what was missing with Adami. There wasn't an emotional connection between the two of them. It just didn't work. So here's what I think is actually happening. Let's read between the lines. Luca Diella is a performance engineer for Lewis Hamilton. Luca Diella will be at Barcelona. So, just because Boz will operate as race engineer, Luca Diella will still be on the pit wall as a performance engineer working with Boz. And I think this could be, because you've got to remember, Luca Diella has never been a race engineer before. It would be a step up for him. And I think what it is, the reason why they're not making any big announcements and the reason why they don't want to rush as announcing him as a race engineer is this is an opportunity to see how they work together. This is like a try before you buy situation. Yes, they can say, don't worry, Boz will be operating as race engineer. But if both cars are on track, there is a situation where they may put the headset on Luca Diella and they can see how they communicate together. And when you consider this as well, that Luca Diella's specialism is engines and power units, and now the race engineer's role will really be heavily linked to the battery management, that's a pretty good situation for Luca Diella. He knows power units. He's been involved in developing power units. He knows the data. That's his specialism. So look, this is what I actually think. Even though they're announcing that they're not going to make a decision anytime soon, I think they use Barcelona as a testing ground to see how Lewis Hamilton and Luca Diella work together in a race engineer / driver capacity. And that way it's a try before you buy, isn't it? So I just think that's why they're delaying the actual announcement. Because once he's announced, they're not going to switch him out, are they? He is going to be the race engineer for 26. So during this testing period of the SF26 in Barcelona, I think they take the opportunity to try before you buy. And if it gels and if it works, I think he gets announced. If there are any problems with that, then I think Luca Diella, there's a small chance that it's not him and they go for somebody else. But unfortunately for Lewis, the time it takes to fill that role, the race engineer position, is detrimental for Lewis, I think. But let's see. But that's what I actually think. Hey, Ballum, nice to have you in the chat, buddy. Great to have you there. Avon's in there. Thane's in there. Kyle's in there. But that's what I actually think. I think reading between the lines, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a try before you buy situation with Luca Diella in Barcelona. If that goes well, he gets announced. Geothermal can is in the house. Nathan is in the house. Yeah, great. I'm glad to see you all in there. Nathan says, I think it'll be better than the 2025 situation, honestly. I think anyone's better. I think if I was Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, I think it's a better situation than what he had with Adami. And I don't understand the data or the telemetry, but I still think that I'd be able to give him a lot of emotional support. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what's really happening. So I don't think there's anything to panic about. But the timeline is going to be detrimental because the more time he gets with his race engineer, the more time that bond gets forged before the start of the season, the better for Hamilton. Just Dave's in there as well. He'd be better without an engineer than Adami. That's what Just Dave says. Well, yeah, look, I think that's the situation. I think it's a delay. I don't think it's off. I think it's a try before you buy, but let's find out. So yeah, that's your update on the Luca Diella situation. But we have got so much to get into tonight. So the next story is Piastri's papaya problem, or Oscar Piastri pushes back on the conversation about the papaya rules in 25. He's really calm in the McLaren ship, but there are some comments from him that make me feel that there is a shift in Piastri's outlook for 2026, and we're going to come to that. But before we do, just let me quickly remind you, we do have a livery poll about the Audi R26 livery. I'm gonna show you pictures of it, by the way, in this show. But I know some of you may have already seen it on social media. But we're gonna come to my opinion on it a little bit later. But I'm interested to see what you guys have got to say. DT's in the house. Yes, DT. Oh, hang on, because I got it on top chat. Hang on. Let me just get it on live chat. It's a bit harder to follow because it moves a lot quicker. Drop tunes in there as well. Diella will be fine as long as he gets supported by the Mandarin. I agree. Yeah, Just Dave, I see your opinion on the Audi R26 livery. Right, we're going to come to my opinion a little bit later when I talk about Niko Hulkenberg. But yeah, I will show you pictures and you can have your say live. So next story tonight, Oscar Piastri. So this coming out from motorsport.com. And really, it was an interview that he had with Today. And Piastri was talking about the feeling from his side of the garage. And he's talking about the papaya rules. And this is what Oscar, this is an Oscar quote. He said, it gets talked about a lot. I think behind the scenes, it's a much smaller discussion and smaller deal than what it gets made out to be. But we've got our ways of going racing, but it's constantly evolving. We'll do a review. We've already have reviewed, and we do want to do things differently. We do want to change things a bit. So yeah, we'll get a handle on that before we fully go racing in 2026. But I think for me, the intentions were always in the right place. And we'll do some tweaking if we feel we need it to try and make life a bit easier for ourselves. There's a lot of different ways you can take the 2025 season. But I think for me, I learned a lot about myself, both on track and off track. Now, this is the bit that I think is quite telling. I feel like I really developed quite a lot as a person. I feel more mature. I feel more responsible. But I know what I want a bit more now, and also just a sense of pride. Now, I think that last sentence is the thing. I know what I want now, and also a sense of pride. Now, why did he say that? I think that's the telling part for Oscar Piastri. But when he talks about being more mature, I think Piastri does have a mature head on his shoulders for his years. Last year, I think he still felt like a little bit of imposter syndrome. I think he was as surprised as anybody to find himself leading the World Driver Championship by 34 points. I think he felt as well the noise around Lando Norris having preferential treatment, and I think there was some evidence to support that. What he's basically said, I think, in that one sentence is, look, I know what I want now. I want to win. I think that's what he's saying. And also, I have a sense of pride, meaning I am not going to get railroaded in conversations. I'm not just going to go, hey, hey, the team want me to do this. I am now proud of myself. His shoulders are broader. He's probably lost a little bit of that imposter syndrome. He probably believes that he can win a World Drivers' Championship against Norris and against any driver. And I think now we're going to see a Piastri that comes in at 26 with a level head, but with more resolve, with a stronger backbone, because I think he feels he's earned it. So if there is a situation that he wants to push back on, I think he will. He never pushed back with any force, did he? When asked to give up the position to Norris in Monza, he did it. When and he showed maturity, I think, when he protected the pit crew member who had the tyre gun jam. He was concerned about their welfare, how the fans would react to him specifically. So I think he wants a team on side. The season hasn't started yet. Australia's a great race for him. So I think he's shown a sense of maturity. He thinks, you know what, it's better that I get the team on side going into the season. I don't need to start making big statements by saying, hey, you're not going to railroad me this year. I'm not going to follow team orders if I disagree. He wants a team on side, but what I think he's showing with just these little nuggets with his language is saying, look, I'm letting you know I've matured. I'm letting you know I'm stronger. I'm letting you know I have some pride about what I do. And I think that's key. I think that's key. Hey, D New School. The D1 New School, old school. Greetings from North London. I used to live in North London. Great to have you in there as well. So I think that's really where they're going. I think Oscar's going in that way. I think he's really just gently putting his stake in the ground, letting the fans know, I'm ready. I'm ready for 26. Australia's going to be a tough ask for Norris to beat me because it's a good track for me. And he wants a team on side. So I think I like it. I like his statement. Let me know what you think in the chat. But I do like his statement. He's saying the right things, and he's doing it in such a calm way. Like Piastri's, he reminds me, is a more talkative Raikkonen, right? He's got that sort of Iceman about him. Yes, he lost his way a little bit from Baku onwards in 25, where I think even he would admit that he probably, for somebody who's so cool, calm and collected, probably lost his cool internally, probably was error prone. And he probably was riddled with doubt about what's happening within the team, the noise around Norris. And I think he's probably got on top of that. Yeah, I think he's got on top of that for 26. So I think it's good news. I think it's good news for Piastri. I do. But I'm interested to know what you think. Get in the chat. I'm going to go to the chat. So Nathan Hewitt says, in Papaya fairness, McLaren owes Piastri a driver world championship. I think there's a lot of people agree with you. I think there's a lot of fans that agree that even though Piastri hasn't, really come out saying this, I think there's a lot of fans that would agree that Norris was favoured in that team. They would have preferred Norris to be world champion. It was better for the sponsors, for a lot of, it was better for the team in a lot of ways. But Piastri never called out his team. Would he let that happen? If he believed it internally, will he let that happen in 26? I don't think he does, because I think if that happens in 26, he's already looking for a new team for 27. And there will be offers and there will be takers for Oscar Piastri's services in 26. In 27, 100%. He's going to be on the grid. He's one of the higher tier drivers. So I think that's the situation for Piastri, but he's letting us know things will be different, but he's doing it in a subtle way. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. So that's a little update on Oscar Piastri. Now, Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey has privately delivered his verdict on Aston Martin signing Charles Leclerc in 2027. So this story coming out from F1 Oversteer and Ralph Back. So Adrian Newey thinks Charles Leclerc's driving style would best suit his car at Aston Martin. Leclerc could be the key to their success if they can strike a deal for the Ferrari star. Ralph Back has heard that the Aston Martin boss feels that he is best suited to his car. and this is what he goes on to say. I've heard through the grapevine that Newey, the opinion is that Leclerc's driving style is most suited to Newey's car, which he has always built around Verstappen and Red Bull in recent years. And that was fastest when the driver could handle it. So I think Leclerc is obviously highly regarded by Adrian Newey, just based on his driving style. And this could play a huge role for a designer like that. Also, if Leclerc has a bad season, he could blow it. He's won twice against Hamilton now, but he has to do it again. If Hamilton turns it around, Hamilton can extend his career as a result, because he's talking about actually George Russell there. But look, here's the situation. We know that back channels from Aston Martin, when we saw Charles Leclerc speaking out about the SF25, how he was unhappy at Ferrari, and Nicholas Todd, who is Charles Leclerc's manager, was taking calls from Aston Martin, and they were discussing a future deal for Charles Leclerc. Like, this is not new news. We know Aston Martin like Charles Leclerc. We know that Charles Leclerc is putting Ferrari on notice. Charles Leclerc, we did a video on it. He basically said he will know which teams will be competitive for the next 5 years within 6 races. Within 6 races. And if Ferrari aren't one of those teams, Leclerc's got to go. And he will be lining up his move. The driver market's going to be crazy for 27. So Aston Martin are already looking at Leclerc to be, I think, the replacement for Fernando Alonso. Really, because unless Lance Stroll throws his teddy out the cot and decides he doesn't want to do Formula One anymore at the end of this season. Well, I think Leclerc could replace either driver if Fernando Alonso decides he's had enough, and even if he wins the World Drivers' Championship, Fernando Alonso himself might go, look, I'm 45. I'll be 46 in 27. Maybe it's time for me to go. Thanks very much. I've won. Go out with a bang and a World Driver Championship. But But the interesting thing is here that Newey's designing a car that, to get the optimum performance out of that car, it's drivers that like really aggressive front ends. They're like a twitchy car, like Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. So it's interesting that this news is coming out now, and I'm always a little skeptical when it says private conversations revealed. I mean, unless we get a statement from Newey, it's all a little bit hearsay-y. Hearsay-y? Is that a word? But it's all a bit hearsay, isn't it? But the one thing we do know, because Nicholas Todd confirmed it in 25, is Aston Martin approached Nicholas Todd about retaining Charles Leclerc and his services. So obviously Adrian Newey's a fan. This happened a few months ago. Those conversations will still be ongoing in some description, and it's real interest. It is real interest. And Adrian Newey being an owner at Aston Martin, did he know those back channel conversations were happening with Nicholas Todd, Charles Leclerc's manager? Of course he did. He probably instigated it. He knew how he was going to design this car for 26. He knows the type of driver that he thinks are going to fit best in that seat. So yes, I do believe those conversations are going on. But like all drivers, they're going to wait to see everyone's got a new iteration of their car. Is the Ferrari going to be competitive? If you listen to Cadillac, they said that the power unit is actually from their short run time. They think it's decent. They think the power is there. So we don't know. We're not going to know till Melbourne, and we're not going to know how Charles Leclerc is going to feel until, I'd say, 6 races in. But Aston Martin definitely on the radar, and will be trying to do everything they can to secure Charles Leclerc. He's their favourite driver. So we'll watch this space, basically. Watch this space. Because they don't think they can get Max Verstappen, right? And if Adrian Newey builds a rocket ship... Yeah, if Adrian Newey builds a rocket ship, well, that could be very different. And okay, now... we're going into the Audi R26 livery. Right, now I've got quite a lot to say about this. Don't forget, we've got a poll running. We have a poll running, and that poll quite simply is, do you like the Audi Revolt R26 livery? So far, 70% of you say yes, 30% of you say no. Well, let's take a look at it, shall we? Now, this is interesting because we're going to first look at this image, which is the Twitter, the Instagram image, the professional photo. You know, this is the equivalent of if you're on Tinder and you're looking for a date and you've got the filter on, right? When you're looking at your potential matches. So that's obviously on the angle. This is from the front. Again, a nice Tinder date image, a little bit of a filter on it. It looks like it pops. Okay, I watched the live launch event, like I'm sure some of you did. This is what the car actually looks like. Without a filter, just the car. And honestly, oh man, I think it's a miss. I think it's a thumbs down for me. I don't like it. I think it's bland. I don't feel the orange is working for me. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't work for me. I honestly feel like it's like Instagram versus reality. You got these images that seem to pop a little better, but still not great. The oranges look a bit stronger. I don't know. It's not for me. What do you guys think? Let's see what you're saying in the chat. Orange and black, Ballum says. Just Dave. Yeah, just Dave's not feeling it. Surely that's the lighting. Well, the lighting wasn't great, but it's Nathan says it's bloody awful. Ballum says, yeah, kind of weird. Yeah, it would look better. DT says it would look better with a giant HP logo on it, like Ferrari. Oh, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Even the Instagram kind of image, like it looks better. Obviously, lighting's a bit better. I think it's going to look a little dull on the track. That's what I think. It's not stealthy. It's the orange and this sort of the cutoff at the midway point. I'm just not feeling it. It's not doing it for me. I looked at the Red Bull livery launch. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Proper cool. The Racing Bulls livery. Yeah, I liked it. Very cool. The Haas livery. I've liked all of them. I thought the Haas livery was great. It's just a bit... Do you know what it is? It's a bit... It's a bit mechanical, if you like. The silver, it's all a bit satin. Would it look better in gloss? It looks German muted matte. Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. It's almost like efficient. The personality, if you had to put the personality, it would look like, if I was to guess the personality of like stereotypical, it feels a little bit German, right? I'm sure they're going to build a really well engineered car, but the livery we need a bit more flair, a little bit more pizzazz. And honestly, I felt like that a lot about the Mercedes liveries as well. Yvonne didn't like the Haas livery, but yeah, Sema, it's very German. I agree. Like it's a weird thing to say. I hope we don't get cancelled for it, but it does feel a bit like a very German livery, and it just feels very like get the job done. But it doesn't wow me. I just wanted to be wowed. I would maybe a bit more of a throwback to Audi's Quattro, livery for a bit more. I don't know, from the 80s from the rally championships. I don't know. It just doesn't wow me. It just doesn't get me. So yeah, it's the first livery I've seen that I didn't like, and it's not even because of the color scheme. When I saw the Cadillac monochrome stealth livery for the testing in Barcelona, I was like, I love it. It was great. The design cues were brilliant. The monochrome Cadillac logo on the rear quarters, brilliant. I loved it. So it's not even like the color cues. I'm not sure the orange, black, and silver really works, but yeah. It's DT says it's fine from far, but far from fine. The back half isn't bad. Yeah, you know, actually, if they'd gone with black and orange and really perhaps not used the silver, I don't know. Black and orange could have done something, you know, the old tangerine color scheme. I don't know. Not for me. Is not for me. And especially the sort of event images under their lights just wasn't really popping. The orange looked more like red. It looked a bit muted. Yeah, I don't know. Just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me, I'm afraid, guys. But I know, but that's what I love about our community. It's all about opinion. And fan opinion means that we can discuss it, debate it. We all have different tastes. Life would be pretty boring. If everybody liked Margot Robbie, then there'd be no fans for Megan Fox, right? That's it's just how it is. And we can discuss, we can discuss those liveries, and we will do. As these liveries come out, we will definitely be discussing them on the live shows at 7:30 Monday to Friday GMT. Auxilla says too much grey. You might be right. Right, so we're going to get into, but moving on to a story that came out today about. This is a bit more fun. So Niko Hulkenbergs Audi 2026 contract contains a clause that nearly bankrupt a rival F1 team. Well, let me tell you this story if you didn't know. So Niko Hulkenberg is on a bonus per point contract for Audi in 26, and he was on the same bonus per point contract for Sauber in 25. Now he's on a straight contract worth 4.3 million a year plus 50,000 euros for each point he scores, which equates to about 43,000 pounds. Now, this is interesting because Hulkenberg's podium alone last year would have earned him 650,000 euros. Oh no, sorry, £650,000, while the 10 points he scored at the Spanish Grand Prix would have been worth £434,000. Like, so basically the 51 points he got in 2025 equated to £2.2 million as a bonus, taking his net, to like just shy of 7 million for the year. The interesting thing about this system, and I wanted to take you through this, was that Kimi Raikkonen basically nearly bankrupted Lotus with this clause back when Kimi Raikkonen signed for Lotus for 2012 and 2013. Now, Lotus were very surprised at how many points Kimi Raikkonen scored. Raikkonen scored 390 points and he got 15 podiums, and they were not expecting this. And he racked up a bonus payment worth just shy of 20 million euros. And at the end of 2013, Lotus still hadn't paid Raikkonen. So Raikkonen walked out before the final two races when he was replaced by Kovalainen. Lotus had debts of 114 million at this point. So Raikkonen's like, hey, I know they paid Raikkonen's salary, but he was Lotus didn't understand. They did not think that they would be that competitive. 15 podiums and 390 points from Raikkonen. No one expected it. So yeah, he racked up nearly 20 million in payments. And Lotus couldn't pay him. So Raikkonen said, I'm not going to race in the final two races. You owe me money. I'm not doing it. That's a gangster move. And actually, but I did hear, but on the reverse of that, I also heard that in the 2013 season, Raikkonen understood that Lotus were in trouble, and he actually, out of his own pocket, paid for some team members to be there at race weekends because, they couldn't afford, Lotus couldn't afford it. So, look, he wasn't all just like, F you, Lotus. I'm not going to race. But yeah, I think it got to the point where those bills, those payments were not coming in, and they racked up a 20 million, owed him 20 million, just shy of. And then obviously he rejoined Ferrari. Until he retired from Formula One in 2021. So yeah, I mean, I just thought that was interesting that these points, these clauses where you're on a points bonus. I think Niko Hulkenberg might end up, because Audi do. The one thing I'd say about Audi is when I watched the launch event today, it was very clear that they were putting their statement of intent that, listen, we're not coming here to make up the numbers. They showed their glory days in F1 and Le Mans and Dakar. And they're like, look, yeah, we're coming here to make history. We're coming here to win. We're not coming here to make up the numbers, which is very bold when it's their first year as a works team. I'm not saying they think they're going to win the championship in 26, but they are here with goals for the coming years to make Audi a proper title winning team. Bonotto spoke well. Wheatley spoke well. The only people that didn't speak very well at that launch event, if I'm honest, was Hulkenberg and Bortoleto. And you know why? I'll tell you why. They were looking at that car and the presenter was trying to get them to be enthusiastic. And they were looking at the car and you could tell they're not that impressed with the livery. I don't think they genuinely like the livery. Hey, just Dave says a livery will cost him 0.5 per lap. Look, but I actually think the drivers couldn't get excited about it. They tried at the event, but they were a bit subdued, and the presenter was trying to get them all upbeat. But the one thing I would say, Audi are coming to play. They're not here. Yeah, they're not here to make up the numbers. And that's good news for Hulkenberg, because if they do manage to get a podium in their first season under brand Audi, that'd be pretty good. But yeah, 50 grand a point. I don't think Bortoleto's on that deal. Niko Hulkenberg actually said that he signed his deal for Audi back in 2024. So he's been waiting all this time to actually see a car. So it's, you know, they wanted to secure Hulkenberg, and they did, and they secured him in 2024. Yes, Sema. Yeah, Naomi tried. She did. She was trying. Naomi Schiff, she was trying to get everyone up, but yeah. Nathan said they thought it was ugly too. That's what I think. Oh yeah, that's right, Sudrish. Gabby, so Bortoleto said, I was trying to pull off like the moody face. No, you weren't. You're just not that bothered. You're not that impressed about your livery. Ballum says, nah, it's going to cost them 0.8 a lap. But that was it was an interesting launch. I did it. Look, Naomi did her best. But yeah, I don't think anyone was impressed with the livery. But are they impressed with the car? I tell you what I'm impressed with. I'm impressed that Audi have had that power unit on the bench before, I believe, anyone other than Mercedes. I think they're prepared. They got a car on track before anybody else for a shakedown. So I think Audi are further down the line of development for the 26 car than other teams. Ferrari said they were struggling to get to Barcelona. We saw yesterday in our news report that Williams are struggling with their chassis and they may not make it to Barcelona. So Audi, impressive so far, but we'll see. We'll get some sort of news or some sort of reports from Barcelona, just where they are in the pack. But yeah, it's a situation that I think Audi, they are here to play. How they'll do in 26, well, we don't really know. Which brings me on, as we're talking about cars on track, the Racing Bulls Imola Shakedown. And this is a bit of comedy. So this is coming out from the race. So what they had to say was that it went pretty well. I'm going to paraphrase. It's the first on-track running for the new Red Bull powertrains engine, which is obviously good news to get some data on track. It's going to be called the V-Carb 03. Yeah, well, okay. And we like the livery, but the one thing that everyone was talking about, they weren't talking about the powertrain. They weren't talking about really the livery, because people do generally do seem to like the livery. What was everyone talking about? They're talking about this. The air intake. And these are just some of the comments. Sickloy said, that reminds me, I need to order a new extraction fan for the kitchen. People are saying, look, they like the livery, but what's up with the FW13 style airbox, right? Does the RBPT engine need some serious cooling? That airbox cannot help efficiency. Yeah, the extractor fan comment made me laugh. So, looking at the car, do I think this is going to be the final car on the grid in 26? I'm not sure, because have they just chucked something? Have they just sort of, are they using that airbox for now because they need to get the cooling into the engine, need to get the cooling in to cool that battery, which is going to be a problem for all teams? And are they throwing us a dummy to try? Because I don't think that's going to be the design. I think I'll be surprised if that's their solution to cooling the battery and cooling the engine, because I think it's a red herring. You know, it's early testing on track. They want to get some miles on the RBPT powertrain. I don't know. I mean, people find it amusing, but I'm not sure that's going to be the solution. A massive airbox above the head of the driver. What do you think? Let me get to the chat and see what you think about it. It looks like an F2 car. Yeah. It does. It looks like that's what Ballum's saying. Yeah. Yeah. Huge. It's supposed to be small. Yeah. I Lego airbox. Exactly, D. No, it looks the same. Lego one looks the same. Look, I don't know. It's a secret outwash design. That's what Nathan's saying. I don't think that's going to be the real design for 26. It can't be. Can it? I'm not sure. I think it could be a little bit of shenanigans. A little bit of shenanigans. You know, throw it through Reddit. You know, putting the car out on track. Everyone's taking pictures of it. Maybe it's throwing some design cues to other teams. I don't know. Oh, Jaman. Yeah, this is a great point. Jaman says, when the main Red Bull team borrows 40 of the top engineers, it doesn't surprise me. I'm sure if you haven't seen that story. So going back to the Red Bull, Racing Bulls, supposed to be operating independently. Red Bull took 40 of the engineers from Racing Bulls into the Red Bull team without any problem. You know, look. They're not operating as two independent teams, that for sure. Secret spy mission for FIA, that's what Ballum's got to say. I do think that it could be some sort of red herring. I don't believe, obviously we know the livery's here to stay, but I don't believe that is what that's going to look like, the airbox is going to look like for 26. I just think it was purely get some miles on the powertrain. Is it reliable? Get some data. But yeah. It made me laugh. That reminds me, I've got to get a new extraction fan for the kitchen. It's not going to be that. That is not going to be the design, I'm sure of it. But it did make me chuckle. Yeah, so, we need to do the poll before I go. But yeah, let's have a look. So the poll for tonight was, do you like the Audi Revolut R26 livery? I'm going to end the poll now. I am flabbergasted. What are you thinking? How? So 67% of you gave it a thumbs up and only 33% of you gave it a thumbs down. I am in the no category. I'm in the minority on this one, it seems. 33%. I'm in the I do not like the Audi livery. I'm just gonna put it out there. Boo. Yeah, D1. Boo to the yeses. Boo to the yeses. That's what I think. Every one of you just simply wrong. Do you know what? Look, I don't like the pictures. I didn't like it on the livery launch. Who knows? Maybe they will tweak it, make it a bit brighter, make it glossier before, I don't know, but it's not, it's not for me. It's a hell no from me as well, D1. But there you go. There's your result of the poll. And if you're watching this on replay, get in the chat and tell me what you think. Is the Audi R26 livery a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. But yeah, it's been a fun show tonight. Loads of things that we had to get through. I will be back, of course, tomorrow for the live stream, 7:30. I hope you can all join me then. Look out for any breaking news that we may have tomorrow, any videos which will come out during the day. Oh, and just quickly, Jaman says, Tony, Audi should use monochrome paints. Maybe. If everyone says they don't like it, maybe they can tweak it a little bit. Maybe they can tweak it a little bit. They won't do. I don't know. But that's a big thumbs down for me. But I will see you all tomorrow at 7:30 GMT for the next one. Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for watching. Ta-ta.